Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode.
Why are you always smiling? Like it's something funny.
Because it feels awkward for me to do that.
Does it?
Yeah. That's
All
why
right.
I'm smiling.
All right. Do it again. Just try it.
No, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it again? All right.
No.
Well, welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Dopey, over here. So how are you doing, my young friend?
I'm doing pretty great. Can't complain.
You're just drier than the Sahara Desert, aren't you? A lot of stuff has happened in the world of sport, I think you could say, recently. A surprising UFC card to a lot of people. Yeah, that's pretty much a shocker. The F1, not really a shocker. Ferrari fumbling again. I mean, is it a shock to anyone now? You must be the most delusional Ferrari fan in the world to think that they're ever going to win a race at this point. So yeah, an eventful weekend in Oscar's sort of world of sport. Not so in mine, but Game 5 basketball happened today. NBA Finals, which was...
It did.
It was a massive game. Obviously, from Game 4 onwards, it's massive in any series. But what would you like to start us off with, my young friend?
Let's start with some F1, I guess. So it was the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I love their national anthem they do at the start of the race.
I didn't hear it. What was it?
It's Azerbaijan. Basically, they just sing the name of their country.
It sounds like a Disney song. Like it's...
Does it?
Yeah, it's like an intro.
Well, yeah. It's just very self-indulging. But
It's not as bad. Like England's one's pretty self-indulging. I mean, God Save the Queen. I mean, that's...
I mean, I guess all national anthems are.
Yeah,
when you think about it. But
Australia's one's stupid, though. I mean, it's really, really stupid. Are you just going to look at text, or are you going to talk about the F1?
I'm going to talk about it. So
All right, hurry it up.
So yeah, the main story out of this race is obviously Ferrari absolutely bottled it once again. Two cars could not finish the race due to hydraulic or engine issues. So I don't know what Ferrari is making their cars out of, but it can't be good shit. Because the engines are failing across all the teams. All the Ferrari engines are failing every race.
Oh, yeah, it's 100% the engine. I mean, Haas failed, Alfa Romeo.
They must just make it out of plastic or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, it's unbelievably good in short spans of time, but once it goes over an actual race, it's useless. I was going to say hopeless, but I'll try to combine them a bit. But yeah, it was unreal how bad their engine. I mean, you feel bad for Charles Leclerc. Clearly, I think he's been the best driver easily this season. And he's gone to first so many times from pole, and just continued that and built great leads. And then his cars just failed him. Either that or the team's failed him, but it's mainly the car that's failed him this year. It's ridiculous how bad that. I mean, Ferrari should be running away with the championship, but it looks like they've got no shot in hell right now.
Yeah, and to add insult to injury, George Russell has now overtaken Leclerc in the championship.
I mean, Mercedes car's nowhere near as good.
Actually, wait. Did he overtake Leclerc? No, he overtook Sainz, and Perez overtook Leclerc.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the speed that Ferrari engine has and the car has should not be finishing or not DNFing for that many weeks in a row. It's just ridiculous. Haas, I also mentioned Haas failed completely. I think Kevin Magg's been quite unlucky with his engine over the past.
I mean, he was coming about 15th, but
no, he was coming 10th. He was coming 10th.
coming 10th.
Yeah, and then his engine failed him.
He was in for
the Alfa Romeo. Guangzhou Zhou, I mean, Jesus Christ, that guy's been in. Like, he had the most unluckiest run ever.
He was pissed as well when his car broke
He's
down.
like, come on, guys, this is not good enough.
I was doing so well.
It's like classic Toto. But yeah, obviously we were having a bit of a discussion prior to the podcast about Lewis Hamilton, and you were calling him some flavorful words, shall I say?
Yeah.
Sort of criticizing his mental capacity to deal with pain.
Yeah, he was being a flop.
Even though his car was bouncing around like a basketball the whole race.
Get off the radio complaining about your back, mate. I don't care.
Well, I don't think he's communicating with you exactly. He's kind of he's trying to communicate with his team.
Well, it's being communicated with me through the broadcast.
Well, you can blame. You can put the blame at the broadcaster's doorstep, but yeah, the Mercedes car still has major problems with it. I think even you can't deny that. The porpoising's ridiculous. Even though they still managed to get decent results.
That's why they're fast, is because they put their thing basically on the ground. That's why it's porpoising so much, I think.
Yeah.
So they could stop the porpoising, but they would just be slower, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, because if they slowed it down anymore, it'd be a friggin' tractor. But yeah, it's really not looking that great for Mercedes. They just have problems all over the place. Who else was
big story out of this race?
Daniel
Ricciardo obliterated Lando Norris. That it was probably the greatest individual driver performance of all time. Daniel Ricciardo's back. Wow, it was a great day for Australian
What did he finish?
F1 fans. He finished 8th, 0.3 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. Absolutely destroyed.
I mean, Lando was a bit.
I've never seen a more one-sided driver team discrepancy.
I mean, Lando was a bit upset that he couldn't pass him for like 5 laps.
Lando was forced to finish behind him, but still, Daniel was absolutely destroying him.
This is not right, Michael.
At the start, though, in the first stint, Daniel was actually faster and he was told to stay behind. So they just repaid the favour. But, yeah, it was just nice to see him at least with him on the track.
I mean...
And in the points.
He was going to get passed by him. But, yeah, look, it was a lot... I mean...
And I think McLaren ruined both their races with the team orders. They could have put Daniel further ahead at the start, and then they could have had Lando further ahead at the end. But they've just they're so conscious of not having the drivers fight each other that they just keep them behind each other, and they're ruining both their races.
Yeah. I mean, the standout driver for me was Pierre Gasly. What did he finish 5th?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for an... but the AlphaTauris were doing well. I think Yuki Tsunoda was up there as well until he had engine failures or he had something wrong with
his wing snap.
Yeah, he had something wrong with his car. But both the AlphaTauris were looking unreal in that race. They could have easily had 2 top 7 finishes. Seb Vettel, sort of, he would...
E6.
Well, yeah, he was looking a lot. He could have easily gone for 4th. But he had a bit of a incident where he had to sort of veer off track a bit. But other than that, it wasn't really that surprising of a race, considering the fact that both Ferrari cars sort of fell back. I mean, Latifi, oh my God. Well, he was like a minute behind the next person. It wasn't like even a minute behind the leaders.
He did have he had a 10-second stop-go penalty at the start of the race.
Oh my God, sorry.
Because his team touched his car after they weren't allowed to.
Yeah, they try to break it. They're like, please get off the track.
They tried to puncture it before it started.
But yeah, it was quite a... What would you say? It was a mid-race? What would you sort of rank it?
I enjoyed it because Daniel was actually in a competitive position.
Yeah, but
it's been the most enjoyable race for me. One of the most enjoyable races for me this year.
Okay. Well, decent race. Obviously, Ferrari fans are in the mud. Red Bull, I just hate when they win. It's just so annoying. The most cockiest people on the planet. I mean, Christian Horner, you could just tell. He was just like, yeah, up yours, Mercedes, you son of a bitch.
Obviously, he hates them.
Yeah, and then Max Verstappen, just a lot of people are Max fans because he's a young, exciting driver and he gives it all on the track. But I just find him really just annoying. He's just really arrogant, and I don't like that. But that's just my personal preference. So I don't like when Red Bull win. But yeah, what's the next race?
It's this week. I think it's Baku.
Baku.
It's another street circuit, so similar to this track.
All right. So, yeah, looking forward to that, and hopefully Kevy Mag can pull out P1.
What's your obsession with Kevy Mag?
I just love Kevy Mag. I'm the underdog.
What has he done to make you like him?
Well, I mean, he's a good driver. 2, I just like the underdog, Haas with, the worst car on track for 2 years in a row.
Why don't you like Williams, then?
Because I don't like Latifi, do I? I mean, who likes Latifi?
Who likes Magnussen?
I think a lot of people like Magnussen over Latifi. Latifi is a literal cheat and a fraud, and I hate him.
Okay. That's great.
And Williams aren't improving. They're not doing any better, are they? So Haas are actually doing well, and once they... I mean, come on. They finished, in qualifying the first race, 5th and 7th or something ridiculous. They were unreal.
And now they're trash.
Well, their engine sucks.
Which everyone could.
Well, the engine's good and bad. I mean, it's giving them a lot more pace than they've ever had. But they also can't finish races. So it's a bit of up in arms how good their season is. I still have faith. 5th for Haas by the end of the year.
In the constructors, you think they'll be 5th?
It could be. It's possible.
I said by the end of the year they'll be 9th or 10th, and I'm sticking with that.
You think they're going to be worse than Williams?
No, well, Williams could be 10th. Haas could be 9th.
All right. The Haas aren't going to be 9th. They're probably going to be 6th, 7th, maybe. Maybe 8th. But they will not get 9th. I mean...
I think they will.
How?
Because they suck.
Yeah, but other teams suck more. Do you honestly think that Lance Stroll is going to get any points?
I think Vettel could get points.
But I think Kevin Mack can do just as well as Vettel. But anyway, moving on. What's the next topic that
Moving on, we'll touch on the NBA. Game 5 today, obviously the Golden State Warriors got up, now leading 3-2, and have a commanding sort of position on this series. I picked Golden State in 6 going into this series, and it looks like that's going to happen. Hopefully, unless Boston can
again,
upset,
it looks like it's going to happen. It's 3-2.
It's 3-2. But it was a big win from Golden State today. I mean, Andrew Wiggins was looking like a prime Kawhi Leonard today.
Don't you ever compare him to the Claw? Right? I mean, don't you ever do that?
That's what he looked like today.
Yeah,
Steph Curry was terrible.
I thought Boston had it,
and they won.
I honestly think Boston in that third quarter, they had it. I mean, I think they were up by 6. I think Marcus Smart hit a 3, and they were up by 6. And I thought, we're right. The momentum's completely shifted. Golden State started so much better than Boston. Boston scored like 8 points in the first 10 minutes or something ridiculous. But yeah, Boston came back in that third quarter, but yeah, Andrew Wiggins in that fourth quarter just sort of made it impossible for Boston. And what was it, 13-point deficit at the end or something like that? Boston, look, it's going to be tough for Boston to win the next game. I'm not going to lie. They're not a great home playoff team, even though they won 1. And I did say before that if Boston were 2-2, I think both teams would take that. If the series was tied 2-2, I think Boston and Golden State would have taken that, even though Boston would have lost the game at home court. I think they haven't been good at all at home during these playoffs, and I think taking at least 1 and making sure that you have opportunities to close out on the road or close out or make a game 7 back at home, but it's just a massive game for them. I don't think they're going to win it, though. They've just been so bad at home, and I think the Warriors are on a roll, and Steph Curry was poor today, and they still managed to win. So I'm not too sure about your opinion on it, but it doesn't look great from a Boston perspective.
No, and I think both teams honestly wouldn't be too concerned. I think they would both be confident going into Game 6. I mean, obviously the Warriors have Game 6 Clay, which is a real thing, kind of like playoff Rondo. He's usually elite in Game 6.
What's that song? Michael Jordan. Dunno. Game. Well, you know the Klay Thompson story where he did the... Never mind, it's a Kanye song.
Oh.
Where he did the... Do you not remember that story of Klay Thompson where he did like all the photos of that Kanye West song where it was like Michael...
No, I don't.
You don't remember that?
No.
All right. Well, anyway, that was just a useless conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the Warriors should win, but the thing is, Boston have been in this position before in this playoffs against Milwaukee. They were down 3-2, and came back to win the series. So they've got that to lean on, I guess, that they've done it before. But this is the first time this playoffs I think they've lost back-to-back games. So maybe that could just be the last sort of dagger that they've just lost it now. And I did say I think they would wear out towards the end of this series because of the Miami series. And I think just it did look like they were slow. Like Tatum could not get the separation today. He was airballing left, right, and center. Jaylen Brown as well. I don't think I've seen as many airballs as I did today from Boston.
Well, again, it was just, I think, a story of how they dominated the third quarter, but the rest of the game they were poor. Yeah, it's difficult. I thought Robert Williams was good again today, even though he doesn't score a lot. I think
because they never give him the ball.
Well, yeah, I think they should give him the ball more. I think you look at the defensive impact that he has and the offensive rebounding capabilities. I think if you get the ball in that paint, and that's how they sort of overcame that deficit that they had. They said, you know what, we're not hitting our threes.
But then they hit 8 in a row.
And then they hit 8 in a row. But before that, sort of to close the gap or minimize the Golden State lead, they just went inside, and I think that's a recipe that they've got to follow in Game 6. I think they've got guys like Al Horford, they got guys like Robert Williams, but they also have Tatum and Brown who are hyper athletic and they're much more athletic than this Golden State team. So they need to use that instead of trying to sort of gather or just find this 3-point shooting and out-duel Golden State in a 3-point shooting match. You're never going to do that. So you've got to use your strengths and go towards the rim, and you've got Jaylen Brown there, you've got Jason Tatum, like I said. Marcus Smart's good at getting past defenders, and they're great at ball movement. So as long as they keep on moving that basketball and driving towards the rim and then finding either Robert Williams or Grant Williams or Al Horford under the basket, I think that's a recipe for success. And yeah, obviously TD Garden's going to be absolutely hyped for the game. And you've just got to find a way to make it a Game 7. It's going to be tough again to win a Game 7, but they're the masters at winning Game 7s on the road. So
and Golden State are the masters of choking.
Well, they're not the masters. I think they choked. Well, they choked once, but it was a pretty big choke. I mean, choking a 3-1 lead in an NBA Finals game. But I mean, I think that is probably, if we're just a bit off topic, I think that's probably like the most overrated choke jobs of all time. Like people
overrated.
Like in terms of people view that as the biggest choke job of all time.
It's up there.
Even though I know the stage is the biggest in the NBA, and if you blew a 3-1 lead in an NBA Finals, it's pretty big. But you also got to look at the other side and look how unbelievable LeBron James and Kyrie Irving were, and how they physically were just that great that it was borderline impossible. And the games also so if you win that Game 5 away from home and you just manage to outwill your opponent, and that's what they did, they outwilled Golden State in that Game 5 at Golden State, then you have a home Game 6, and with that atmosphere you've already got momentum after winning the last game. It's easy to win that game, so that's not an impossible game to win. And then Game 7, even though it's on the road, Game 7s are the most unpredictable games that you just throw everything out the window. So even though it's a pretty big choke job, it's not that big because of how great LeBron James and Kyrie Irving were, and the fact that the games scheduled favored, or where the games were favored, I think Cleveland. So even though I see the Clippers choke job against the Nuggets as a much bigger one, I mean the fact the Clippers won against the Rockets as well, when we blew, was it a 30 or 25 point lead in the fourth quarter in a closeout Game 6. That's a massive one. So I do think that's a bit overhyped, and I think the Warriors are sort of, their legacy is almost tarnished because of that choke job, and they're sort of seen as a team vulnerable to choke. But I don't see it like that. So I think that's just a bit of an anecdote.
That was a nice rant about chokes.
I know it's a bit of an anecdote from me, just a bit of my basketball wisdom just pushed onto the podcast.
Yeah, unfortunately, your basketball wisdom told you to pick the Celtics.
Are they still in this series?
Yeah.
I think I picked the Celtics in 7. It might have been 6, but I'm going to say 7 so it looks better. But yeah, I don't know why you think the series is over.
Why? Because it is.
Well, if the Celtics had won today, I wouldn't say the series was over. You don't think the Celtics can win a Game 6 at home?
I think it's unlikely.
You think it's unlikely that they win at home in a playoff game?
Yeah.
I think it's probably
because of the way the two teams are playing right now,
Boston
and where they both are at the end of the season. I think it's just done.
You think it's done?
I think the Warriors
Jesus
steamroll them.
Christ.
I think Warriors steamroll
All right.
them.
So by the time of this next podcast, now I want to put this in context. I keep on bringing this up, but Oscar did pick Kyle Kuzma to win Most Improved Player a couple of years back.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, when he was terrible.
He actually was kind of close this year.
No. Yeah, whatever. He also picked the Lakers to win the championship this year with the Nets.
Did you not pick the Clippers?
We had injuries. That's different. You had incapable players. So yeah, don't always take Oscar's word as gospel. That's just what I'm trying to say.
Obviously, everyone's going to pick the team they support.
Yeah, but not if you're a Utah Jazz fan or like a Orlando Magic fan. I mean, come on, you can't.
Well,
be that.
yeah, but if your team, we were the betting favorites to win the championship at the start of the year.
Okay,
no one could have predicted the absolute
I could have. I literally
shit
predicted
show
it.
that happened this year.
I could have predicted it. I think most basketball people with sound basketball
I think you could have
knowledge-
predicted that it wouldn't have worked, but I don't think you could have predicted how bad it was.
Okay. But anyways, all I'm trying to say is Oscar's word isn't always gospel. You're not always right.
No, I am always right.
So I think that
if I'm not right, it's because of circumstances out of my control.
So are you saying it would take an act of God for the Boston Celtics to win this series?
Yeah. Like,
all right, that's the end of us chat.
Like Steph Curry's ankles being struck down by a Marcus Smart dive or something.
That's another thing Oscar likes to do. He likes to deflect things. He likes to deflect the blame. So are you seriously going to sit on this show after the Celtics win and go, you know what? God wanted the Celtics to win.
If the Celtics win, there will be some miraculous reason for why they've won.
You know what? They've got a leprechaun as the lucky leprechaun as their emblem. That's why they won. You know, they got lucky. Oh, the refs.
Who knows?
The refs.
I can't.
Did you believe the refs in that game?
I haven't watched the game yet. I don't know.
But did you also see that the ref that refed, I think it was Tony Brothers, he's 3-17. The Celtics are 3-17 when he refs a game this season.
Well,
is that a coincidence?
I don't know. Maybe. You know,
I think the NBA is a bit of rigged.
Scott Foster. Chris Paul's like 0-20 something with Scott Foster or something.
Yeah, well, but I mean, still, that's not. You're deflecting again.
Not deflecting.
The Celtics are 3-17 when Tony Brothers is a referee. That has got to be some NBA rig job right there.
No,
that's rigging. I mean, come on. In a closeout game, not a closeout game, but in a Game 5 situation, in an NBA Finals, how is a ref where the opposition team has 3-17 with this ref on the fucking court, how is he allowed to ref that game?
I don't know.
See, it's rigging. All right?
Rigging?
It's rigged. And the NBA is rigged. They want the Warriors to win. They want Steph Curry with a Cinderella run to win an NBA championship. That's what it comes down to, all right?
Is it not just that they're one of the best teams of all time?
No, it's rigged.
Okay. While we're still on, rigging and things the NBA want and don't want, we'll switch lanes to Anthony Davis. Obviously, Anthony Davis doesn't want himself to be good at basketball anymore.
He just wants to take it. He wants to take a chill. He wants to just.
So yeah, it's come out that he has a strict off-season schedule that he follows, of 10 hours of Minecraft a day.
Dude, that Call of Duty, dude, it gets intense. Yeah. You got to focus. You can't be focusing on basketball when you've got Call of Duty to play. All right, but yeah, it comes out that on top of all the rest that he gets in season, because he's injured 90% of the time, it comes to a surprise to many that he likes to have a 2.5 month break. A break in the off season. And you saw on ESPN, JJ Redick, and this is the only time that I disagree with JJ Redick over Stephen A. But JJ Redick was like, well, this is normal. This is completely normal. I took a rest period. And I'm like, mate, you could shoot the basketball at 40%. Anthony Davis is shooting 18% from 3. What are you talking about? He needs to be in that gym 7 days a week for the rest of his life to be able to get to 40% from 3. The fact that he's just so casual with it, like, oh, you know what? I haven't shot a basketball in like 3 months. It's no biggie. It's not like I'm injured all the season, so I have rest anyway. And what were you saying before the podcast? He needed a mental break. Mentally,
it takes a toll on him. All the
halfway through the year,
all the fashion choices are hard to keep up with.
That is fair.
The trends are really hard to keep up to.
Those street clothes. I mean, the amount of street clothes he has. I mean, he must have wardrobes full of clothes that he has to pick from.
Yeah, he would. He probably has a stylist that does it all for him.
Yeah, but it's still stressful to think about it. I mean, you've got to hire the stylist as well. Can you imagine that? You've got to actually hire that person. That would
be a hard job.
And you've got to be able to know if they're in sync. It's like having getting the right cleaners for your house. It's like you got to know if they're the right fit for your house. It's kind of like the same thing with your body. But yeah, it's just the amount of stress that he's been through. You can't blame him, to be honest. I mean, jeez.
It's a tough life in LA.
It's a tough life. But honestly, I mean, let's stop being sarcastic at this point. It's ridiculous. I mean, surely you think it's ridiculous that he's getting a 3-month break from already having a whole season break.
The thing is, I don't care what you do as long as you perform in season. So if he comes out and he's shit during the season, well then, yeah, I will care. But if he comes out and he's good again, then I'll be like, do what you want, mate.
But if he's taking 3 months break off when he shot 18% from 3. Surely it can't get any better.
Well,
even if it gets 10% better, it's still terrible.
Yeah.
18% from 3. I just think it's a lack of... Look, I've always attributed it to the lack of game time because he has had declining... Not only declining points numbers, but declining efficiency and percentage numbers. So it's also from free throws. I think he was like 84% his first year with the Lakers, and now it's 70% 2 years in a row. It's almost like... And I've always attributed that to the fact that he doesn't get enough game time. Because he's always injured and he doesn't get into a good enough rhythm, and he needs a rhythm or a collection of games like he had with the Lakers when he didn't get injured his first season. And he was in the bubble and he was completely healthy. He needed just a complete run of games or an entire season just to be able to get that sort of rhythm in his shot going. But it turns out that he needs to practice in the off season. It's just his lack of... It's like, I don't change my schedule. No matter how much I get injured, I am always taking that 3-month break. No matter if I'm getting the break the entire season, I'm getting another break for 3 months. Because that's maybe... And this was a sort of point I saw in the comments as well of the video on ESPN that they did. Surely, I mean, if you get injured this much, surely this is also attributing to your injuries. If you're taking this amount of time off and doing nothing, and then you go right into training camp where you're going full out, maybe this is attributing to your body breaking down and getting constant injuries because you're going from such a low sort of impact on your body and doing nothing to all of a sudden playing high volume NBA basketball, intense, and at your size as well. Surely this is attributing to your injuries.
Yeah, well, it definitely could be. But like, yeah, well, we know Anthony Davis is just fragile. He has been his whole career. He can't have been like when he started in the league, he had to be practicing a lot. Like you'd have to assume he can't have just always done nothing. This has to be like, you know, a new superstar mentality where he's like...
No, but he said that this is what he does every offseason. He takes 2.5 months off every offseason.
Well, I'm going to assume he started that recently.
I don't think he has, but... I mean, but I just think, he's previously hasn't been this injured. Even though he had been injury prone, he still had a number of seasons where he was healthy for the majority of the season. So he had a lot of games where... And we all know that we both play basketball. Throughout the season, you get better as a basketball player. Now, to be fair, we were not the greatest basketball players, but we were...
I was pretty great.
Oh, yeah, sure you were. I was better than you for the majority of school. Just because you're lankier than me, you're taller than me, you're just naturally more athletic than me, so you were going to get better than me eventually. But that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. The point is, we know from when we start the trials process, we're a lot worse than we are towards the end of the season. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, well, yeah, the more you play, the better
you
get,
the more you play. So I think that's what's sort of helped him because he's playing during the season helps his game, and I think helped his percentages and his efficiency as well. But because he's been injured so much of the past 2 seasons, he hasn't had that in-game experience where he can get better and get his rhythm as a shooter, like I said before. So this is alarming. If I'm a Laker, I mean, it's I love how people, if you should be making a massive deal out of this if you're a Lakers fan, because I get if it's LeBron James and he's 37 and he's played a lot of seasons and he needs the recovery on his body. And you can say Anthony Davis doesn't need recovery on his body, but when LeBron James played, he was a really, really, MVP candidate when he was playing and when he was healthy.
Easily.
Anthony Davis shot 18% from 3 and has gone statistically down in every category since his first season with the Lakers. And really since his first couple seasons with the Pelicans as well. So, yeah, it's highly concerning. And I don't know how this gets... People saying, Anthony Davis could have a comeback. You know what? The Lakers could be back. If Russell Westbrook...
gets traded.
No. Your coach said It's all about the defense, man.
Yeah, we've hired a hood member to coach the Lakers.
I got shot. He's like 50 Cent. He got, man. The reporter's like, do you feel any pressure going into this Lakers job? It's like, man, I got shot in the face. It's basketball, man. There's no pressure.
Man, we just gonna play that defense. We gonna be hardworking, and we gonna roll them other teams.
Yeah, it was pretty I mean, I admire his sort of confidence, but the main things he said was about how he's going to unlock and make sure he's great defensively.
Well, hopefully he can just get buy-in from the players, because for the majority of the season, the players just weren't even trying. So
yeah,
hopefully he can just get them to try. That's a start, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, but there's just no talent there. And
there is talent.
Is there? Is Russell Westbrook?
No, Russell Westbrook's not talent. He's trash.
Anthony Davis is decreasing talent. He's clearly declining.
But
he doesn't have.
He's still talent that should be in his prime. So
yeah, but he's not though, is he?
Yeah, but he should be. So
Wayne Rooney declined at the age 30 when he aged 30. But when most people hit their primes, then
no, but it's a different sport.
It's not.
It's not a different sport.
I'm saying that Anthony Davis, and I'm saying that. Well, it is obviously a different sport, but I'm saying athletes in general hit peaks at different times, and some people. Physically,
in basketball,
mature.
what sort of barely any basketball players finish their prime by like 28?
Yeah, but I'm saying it's possible, especially if you're injury prone. A lot of players have great early starts to their career, but injuries tear them down. Well, the Brandon Roy, for example, for the Portland Trailblazers, a clear example of a guy that was on the trajectory and people thought he was going up and up, but his body started to break apart once he hit his prime years. So
yeah, I guess Derrick Rose as well.
Yeah, so I think
it's rare.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's rare, but it's still possible. So I think you could easily say or see that Anthony Davis is a declining asset, and he's getting worse and worse. So, what young players have you got to lean on? Kendrick Nunn. You got Kendrick Nunn. Is he going to play this year? Should we put a bet on?
THC, baby.
Yeah, I think that's a type of drug. But anyway, THT.
That's what Flight calls it.
Yeah, anyway, but there's just no talent there, really. I mean...
Well, who knows? We haven't seen Kendrick Nunn play yet, so let's not rule him out yet.
I mean, how much did he get paid?
He was like all rookie first team in Miami, so...
I mean, how much did he get paid? $5 million to just sit on a bench?
Well, yeah.
I thought he was going to be out for like 2 weeks.
I thought he had a knee bruise.
The doctor just kept on coming in and asking, hey, you ready to play yet?
How's that bruise going?
Another month, bro. I'll be good. And the season just got progressively worse and worse. He's like, I'm not playing.
He went to school at the Ben Simmons Sleeping Institute. And
it's a tough place to get into. I mean, I think
very selective.
Anthony Davis is in there for probably, 3 months out of the offseason?
Anthony Davis is the lecturer.
Yeah. Obviously, Ben Simmons is the founder, but...
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on from Anthony Davis and his atrocious work. Can we call it an atrocious work ethic?
Yeah, sure. I guess.
But then where do you go with Ben Simmons? Like, what level is above atrocious?
Ben Simmons.
You just Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
He's not quite...
Ben Simmons is the verbiage.
So he's not quite Ben Simmons'd it?
No.
But he's just atrocious. His work ethic is
atrocious. Because he doesn't refuse to play. He just
doesn't want
plays
to.
5 minutes.
Yeah, but he's also refusing to work out in the off-season when he's injured for 90%.
Oh, yeah, I guess Ben Simmons does work out. He puts some fire highlight reels together in the off-season.
Maybe Ben Simmons is better than Anthony. I mean, workouts don't really help your team, so at least Anthony Davis is available for like 10% of the season.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a pretty tough situation if you're a Lakers fan at the moment.
It is. Speaking of tough situations, New South Wales lose to Queensland in Game 1.
Yeah.
Something that I saw coming, unfortunately.
I forgot to write this down. Hang on. For we got obviously our segment last week of what was it? Should we do Hio da Puta or we should do Puta of the Week? Puta of the Week. Obviously you're gonna pick somebody. I'm gonna pick somebody of the asinine thing that somebody did while we were watching this game.
You're just gonna throw it in now?
In a pub. No, I'll discuss it later. Okay, for my putter of the week. And I just want to clarify, this was This is the worst thing you can do as a sports fan. I just want to say that. This is the single worst thing you could do as a sports fan. So, sorry to interrupt, but I just had to remember it for a second and sort of just clarify that I'm talking about an individual that is in this vicinity. Anyway, so moving on, go chat about your state of origin while I just sort of think about all the things I'm going to say about you in a second.
Yes, so New South Wales lost game 1. And now it's come to a lot of people's attention that maybe Freddie did select the wrong team, which is quite clear to me that he did. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a few selection changes, but I'm very scared that there won't be. Because Freddie sounds like he's got confidence in these boys to do the job, which is just insanity to me. Because Queensland will beat us if we pick this same team. And the thing is, we've got the players available to win this series, but we're just not picking them. Josh Adokar has scored. Did you watch the game yesterday? He scored a hat-trick. He scored 5 tries in 2 games since not being picked.
Yeah, look.
He has to be in the team.
I think we were just loyal to the wrong people.
Yeah, we were.
Why were we loyal to Tarek Sims?
I don't know. Like, Jake Trbojevic played amazing this week. He's got to be in. Even Angus Crichton played well this week. I think he's got to be in. I think Matt Burton's in. I'm throwing him in at centre. He's in for me. He's in for me. He was incredible yesterday. He was incredible yesterday.
We're not having a Penrith. You want? He
doesn't even play for
Should we
Penrith.
get Dylan Edwards in there as well?
I'd rather him than some of the people in there.
Yeah, how about we get friggin' Sorensen in there as well? How about we get that Kaiser in there? Fisher Harris, you want to change nationalities?
No, I want Matt Burton at centre. How hard is it?
Okay.
He has an incredible combination with Adokar. You put him on the left with Adokar.
No, how incredible! They 15th. How is it incredible?
Because they score 85% of the Dogs' tries is Matt Burton.
It's not incredible though. You're acting like it's the second coming of friggin', I don't know, Cronk and Tupou. I don't know. No,
trust me, I've got an eye for this stuff. And Matt Burton is an Origin player. He's gonna do. Tony Staggs is scared of the ball. He's allergic to running the ball.
Yeah, but when he runs it, he's a friggin' tank.
He takes one run a game.
Okay.
He's not an Origin player. I'm sorry.
Matt Burton hasn't played centre the whole year, so I wouldn't exactly.
But he's a footy. He can play.
He's a footy. You sound like Gus Good. Oh, he's a footy player. Get him in there.
If you're going to throw Jack Wyden at centre, who's never played there in his life, let alone Matt Burton being the Dally M Centre of the Year last year,
I wouldn't put Matt Burton in there at all. I think. Well, one, he'd have to play left side. Matt Burton.
Yeah, you throw him on the left, and you throw Stephen or Latrell if you're going to pick Latrell on the right.
You can't. You'd pick Latrell on the left. He can't play right centre.
Why?
He's never played right centre. And
who gives a fuck?
Yeah, but he's a lefty.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter what.
It looks odd. It looks odd though, don't you? Don't you think?
If you're a lefty, he played next to Toto last year in Origin, and Toto's on the right this year, so it would work.
No, well, look. At the end of the day, I think that Jack Wyden, even though he shouldn't have been picked, he was probably one of our best players. Yeah, so you think he's going to get dropped? No.
No, he's 100% going to be picked. But I'm even though he did play well, I'll give him that. I think it's a flash in the pan, and you're asking for trouble if you think he's going to do that every game.
Well, look, you say Adokar, and I don't think Tupou was bad. I think Tupou was good. I just think...
But he's just... How is he better than Adokar?
He's a better... from danger.
No.
And he's better in the high ball.
No.
Look, I don't think... Look, as a total... Adokar brings a level of speed that nobody else has. So I wouldn't be upset if Adokar got picked up whatsoever. But what I'm saying is that the main problem that we had was how slow we were in the middle. And how we just... Yeah, the foot speed... You could just tell every single time. It was Cotter, Carrigan, Collins. They just were so much quicker than us in the ruck, and they just dominated us in the ruck. And guys like Tedesco, guys like Cleary had no time and how many times did we get tackled in the opposition 20?
I don't know.
Like barely any. So we didn't have enough ball, and we were just too structured. And I feel like, so I do agree with Gus on that point. I think it was. I think we could easily have won with that personnel, but I think how we played was, and the sort of Freddie's coaching and the structure that we played
weird,
was the main problem. But yeah, I think the main changes need to happen in the middle. I think Jake Trbojevic needs to be in there. And I think Adokar should be picked because for the simple reason of personality. You need to have winners and guys that have won in that New South Wales team. That's why, obviously, Queensland, even though I don't totally agree with stick and pick, that is one of the reasons why Queensland was so dominant over those years, because they had guys who knew how to win and they knew how to pull it out in late game situations. So I think the main changes that need to happen are through the middle.
I think we need more smaller, agile style forwards, because that's how what Queensland have done.
Yeah,
and they destroyed us.
But who's an option? Who's a viable option? Obviously, Tarek Sims.
Well, I think Tarek's out. I think out of Junior Paulo, Payne Haas, Campbell Gillard, you pick two of them.
Yeah,
I think one of them has to go.
I wouldn't pick Campbell Gillard. Was good, but he's not on there for long enough. I think you've got to go with another guy.
I think Madison goes.
Yeah, Madison's probably gone.
And I think you bring in Crichton, Trbojevic. And I'd bring in Coruscant for Cook, because I don't care what you say. Cook
is way quicker than anyone around the ruck, so that's just not.
But he sucks.
He doesn't suck.
He does.
Late game, we would.
He never runs the ball.
Yeah, but he was late in the game when we were desperate. He was really good, and him and Tedesco, and you can't not pick Cook. If you're saying stick with players that are giving you success before, you cannot not pick Cook, because he's been unreal in the State of Origin.
Okay, fine.
But I maybe you do a Queens. This was sort of brought up on Fox. Maybe you do a Queensland where a Ben Hunt, Harry Grant situation where you have Coruscant play the first 20, and then you have a guy like Cook who's quick off the bat.
I think if you're gonna give White in the centre jersey, you have to commit to giving him the centre jersey, and then you put either Coruscant or Hines on the bench, and Crichton can't be on the bench. I think either Crichton has to play centre and Jack's on the bench, or Jack starts and Crichton's out.
But I saw also another comment about it. When Brisbane had that dominant team in the 90s, Queensland weren't doing that. I wasn't born then, so I'm not too sort of well versed in that. But the sort of story where you have to pick a club team and you sort of try and transfer that club team and that club form into State of Origin, it doesn't always work. It's something that Gus Gould sort of pointed out.
I mean, it does work pretty often. It worked last year.
But you had a lot of different. I mean, the players of the series were Latrell for the Bunnies. You had Tedesco Roosters, Trbojevic Manly. Obviously, Cleary was great in that series. You had a lot of different.
But like through the Queensland era, you had like 5 or 6 Melbourne players in that team every year.
Yeah. Well, not 5 or 6. You probably had 3.
Yeah, Inglis, Slater, Smith.
Well, Inglis was with the Rabbitohs a lot. But yeah,
I was with the Storm a lot.
I get your point, but I just think that it was a bit, and I didn't like the fact that Cleary was the sole kicker for 60 minutes of that game. It was ridiculous.
No, but he is the
Can
best
Luai
kicker.
not kick?
He can kick.
I know, but it was after 20 minutes. It was predictable. They just rushed out to Cleary the entire time, and he had no time and no. I mean, where was his special kicks all the time? I see in Penrith, he's doing these stupid bombs that go 100 miles in the air and wobble about.
It's because he had no time.
And then he just kicked the most basic kicks in the world to Queensland. They were like,
it wasn't his best game, but
he didn't have enough time.
Yeah, because the way Penrith is structured is they all block at the ruck. Like all the forwards just stand next to the ruck and block the chases.
Yeah.
So he has heaps of time, and obviously they didn't do that. And they just didn't get quick enough play the balls. So,
but yeah, I would be sort of worried if they didn't make any changes, because I think even though Stags might be sort of split.
I hope for New South Wales' sake, Stags never plays another game of Origin.
No, he's a very talented player, so I would never say that.
No, well, you would hope Trbojevic and Latrell will be the same.
Oh yeah, well you hope
5 years. So I'm hoping for New South Wales' sake he never has to play again.
Well, yeah, obviously you're hoping that Trbojevic and Latrell are constantly available, but that's just not the case. They're very injury-prone players, so I wouldn't sort of count on that. But yeah, it's just I love all the Queenslanders that are just harping up as well. Like, mate, if we had a fully healthy team, you'd get absolutely trounced. You know what happened last year? 50-6 when we had a healthy team. It would happen again. Trbojevic and Latrell would destroy you when they're fully healthy. So don't even chat New South Wales are unlucky. We're back, baby. 7 in a row. We're back. And it's just no. And they're acting like they won the series after one game.
Well, they did win in New South Wales though. So they're in the driver's seat for sure.
Of course, they're in the driver's seat, but it's just we have a injured team and we're picking backups. Really, even though we got great depth, they're still backups.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't get
honestly,
too high on your high horse.
If Freddie doesn't make the right changes and we lose game 2, I'm sorry, he has to be fired. I've had enough of him. He's so weird. He's just too weird.
Yeah, but even though he's like probably the most successful Origin coach since Gus Gould,
I don't care.
Is he overrated? Do you reckon?
Yes.
I mean, it's considered for NRL coaching.
Massively overrated.
Yeah, I do kind of agree, but I do think he has got what it takes to be an Origin coach.
Wasn't he shit as an NRL coach?
He was young. I think he was inheriting a bad situation with the Roosters. He wasn't for very long. So, but anyway, moving on. Is there another segment you'd like to move on? Another segment? Because we could talk about Origin for years.
We'll quickly touch on UFC 275. Obviously,
make it quick.
Was meant to be it was meant to be a boring card, but it turned out to be an insane card. Maybe
it was an insane card that nobody watched, but it was still
a lot
good.
of people watched it. But yeah, so Whaley obviously spinning back fist KOs Joanna. It's a rare thing that you see proper knockouts in women's martial arts, especially in the lightest weight class. They're only 115 pounds. They're tiny. And yeah, you very rarely see proper knockouts, but this one was pretty crazy. Probably knockout of the year. And then obviously Joanna retired after the fight. Pretty sad. Obviously one of the OGs in women's mixed martial arts, a fan favorite fighter, and had a great career. But yeah, just I don't know, because she did look good, to be fair, but just got caught. Similar to Tony Ferguson, kind of, but except Tony's too stupid to retire.
Mate, he runs with wolves. Why would he retire? He runs in the mountains with wolves. Tony's a bit deranged, but yeah, it was a good card in terms of the entertainment value, but it was just the names weren't big.
Well, they're very big. I mean, Shevchenko's one of the biggest female names.
I mean, in terms of female cards, it was big, but I mean, if your main card is Glover Teixeira, I mean, it's a bit. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. You'd ideally want him on another championship card as well,
I guess,
with another championship in the card. So, but yeah, it sort of, you said it was the greatest light heavyweight championship fight of all time.
Yeah,
which I think's ludicrous. Since
I think easily,
I think John Jones has a lot to say about that, even though he was. What's the word?
Cheating?
Yeah. Allegedly on certain substances that would have aided his chances of winning, I think is a more accurate statement. But yeah, he has a lot. I think he might have a couple of things to say about that. He had many unbelievable championship fights against top level guys.
Yeah, but they weren't as back and forth as this. Like, I know, both guys were nearly knocked out multiple times.
I know in terms of maybe entertainment values are maybe up there, but you've also got to take into account that the name value does attribute to that. Because I'm sure there's boxing fights everywhere. They're probably better than some championship fights, than most championship fights. But the thing is, the reason why the big names.
Yeah, but this was a championship fight.
I know, but you're trying to take. Just understand my point, okay? What I'm saying is, the name of the fighter does attribute to how great that fight was. So, Nate Diaz, Conor too. I think it does. Because, or it's sort of place in history, even though you're calling it the greatest light heavyweight championship fight of all time. I don't think it will ever be viewed as that because the names aren't big.
I think it already is viewed as that.
I don't think it is. But I think the names do attribute. So, like I say, Conor, Nate 2, that is arguably one of the greatest fights of all time in the UFC. Not just because of how good of a fight it was, but because of the name. Because of both their names and how popular both those guys are and how important it was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even a championship fight.
To an extent that is the case. But this is what
I'm not saying it's
a championship fight. So
I'm not saying it's a main fight. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's not a big fight, but I'm saying the name value matters. And I'm not saying it's the only thing that matters, but I think it does sort of attribute maybe a 20 to 30% factor into if it's a great fight, if it's the greatest fight of all time or not.
Well, yeah, he was about to lose if he survived another 30 seconds, but he submitted him, wins the belt, up the
Dana wasn't even there. He was just...
But did you see he did a live reaction to it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if he wasn't watching a championship fight in his own company, it'd be a bit
But he filmed his reaction to it and he was going crazy.
Yeah,
He was like, holy shit, he tapped him out. Holy fuck, he fucking tapped.
mind the language. Anyway, so
it's a quote.
yeah, okay.
And
Sorry, just no
Shevchenko lost. Well, no, she won. A split
Did she
decision. It was the closest fight she's had.
Shevchenko, doesn't she have like a tattoo of like the gun?
Yeah,
on
she's
her?
the bullet.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's number one pound for pound female, and she was like a 6-1 favorite, and she nearly lost. So
nice. Anyway,
great card all round.
Great card. Great.
And the next card is fucking stacked.
Language. Yep.
Just
kidding. So who's on the next card?
It's Izzy versus Cannonier, Volkanovski versus Holloway 3. Sugar Sean O'Malley's back.
Nice. So it looks like a lot of big names on that.
Yeah.
The Volk. I thought he was on Origin camp, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago.
He was in the Blues camp.
But yeah, obviously a massive fight that. So looking forward to that. Is that next week or the end of this week?
Nah, it's a couple weeks.
Couple more weeks. All right. So moving on. Is there any?
Moving on to. Would you want to talk about Peaky Blinders?
All right, quickly.
Season 6 review. Spoiler alert.
I don't think I've mentioned it on this podcast before, but Peaky Blinders is the greatest show of all time. I think it's common knowledge for now. I just think if you have any other opinion, you're just a bit deluded in the head, aren't you? Oscar will say like Gone Girls or
Gone Girls. The fuck is that?
Oh, like whatever that Glee or some stupid shit like that. But no, it is, in my opinion, the greatest show of all time. The last season, look, it wasn't the best season. I don't think it was a bit of a slow build.
Yeah, it kind of just didn't do it for me the last season.
It wasn't. Yeah, it did leave a lot of questions unanswered. I don't think it.
But I've since done a little bit of research, and apparently they're making a movie.
Yeah, they are.
So it's not really the end.
No, it's not. I don't think. But we're just encapsulating the season. I think. Where did what were the Scottish gang called? The Billy Boys. Where did they go?
But yeah,
they killed
the whole thing with this season for me is like so many characters had so little screen time. Like, I thought Finn was going to be like a main character.
Yeah, it was kind of the Tommy show.
He was in 2 scenes the entire season.
Well, it was a Tommy show, wasn't it? He was in every scene. But yeah, I think it was. I don't think it was as good. Not because I don't think the production value or the acting or the script wasn't that good. I just think that the continuation from season 5 to season 6 wasn't as synced as it should have been. I think it didn't focus on the killing of Polly, and obviously she died in real life, so that's obviously very sad. But
I think that's what they did well, though. I think they handled it well by just getting it out of the way. Everyone knows that she's not going to be there, so they were just like, first scene, she's been killed, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there was much attention to that. I don't think the bad guy in it, oh God, I forgot his name.
Oswald?
Yeah, Oswald Mosley. I don't think, how did he not realise that there was an assassination attempt from the Peaky Blinders on him at that point? But I think the way it ended was unbelievable. I thought it was a really good ending. The fact that...
What, with him just riding away on a horse?
No, I'm not saying the last scene. I'm talking about the last episode and a bit.
I thought they were leading towards Michael coming good and being like...
No, nobody wanted Michael to come good. You wanted him to get shot in the face.
I wanted Michael to turn on these dickheads, but then he was...
Why would you want Michael to be good? You want him dead. He's a rat. He tried to turn on Tommy. Die.
Well, I wanted to see the American dude and Oswald die, but...
I wanted Michael to die as well. You didn't want Michael to die? He tried to take over the company from Tommy. Do you not remember the end of last season, season 5? When he was like...
Well, yeah, I do, but it's kind of sad.
He betrayed the family, so he deserves to rot in the ground, all right? No, but shut up. No.
The other 2 main villains, nothing happened to them.
Anyway, spoiler alert, by the way.
I said spoiler alert.
Okay. Yeah.
What happened to them? They just... nothing?
What do you mean the other 2 villains?
Oswald and the American dude. There was no closure on their story.
Well, I think that'll probably be addressed in the movie, I'd imagine. But yeah, I do like how it ended, I think there were a lot of clever things about how he had that tuberculosis diagnosis.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then the doctor, it turns out the doctor was
his mate.
Was Oswald Mosley's mate, so Oswald Mosley tried to kill off Tommy Like,
so they were both trying to kill him in different ways.
Yeah.
And they both failed.
So I thought it was quite interesting how that ended.
Obviously they failed. It's fucking impossible to kill Tommy Shelby.
Yeah. And I liked how Michael got shot right in the head.
It was also kind of weird how like Alfie only had 2 scenes the entire show. And
yeah, but I think
first scene in like episode 1 and the last scene in episode 6.
I do think that bit was a bit forced. I don't think he should have been in it, to be honest. I think
he should have been in it more. He's a good character.
Well, he's a great character, but I just think his sort of story arc ended when Tommy tried to kill him and he was in Margate or whatever. And he was just on holiday, or like he was just retiring. I think that was probably a good end to that character. I don't think he really needed to be sort of in the show anymore. I look, was it as well made as the other seasons? I don't think so, but I do think there were shining lights in it.
Yeah, I think the earlier seasons were better,
but yeah,
by far.
Well, I do think
also his wife Lizzie. I fucking hate her.
Yeah, no one likes her.
Why is she such a big part of the show? She's just annoying.
She's the most annoying character. I mean, look, she has, she should be lucky. You're pretty lucky to be where you are. You weren't earning the greatest living beforehand.
Just piss off. I don't care about you, please.
Yeah,
when they broke up, I was like, thank fuck. Yeah, get her out of here.
I do think there has been too much shone on her character, and on this season there was just so many scenes with just her and Tommy, and I just thought that was a bit like, come on, nobody really cares about you, mate.
Yeah,
so,
he settled for you after his true love died.
He doesn't really love you, but whatever. So yeah, I don't think it was bad season at all, and I do like how it ended. I'd rate it probably a 6.5 out of 10. I'd rate it 6.5 out of 10 because
that's fair, I guess.
By the Peaky Blinders. Now, if Game of Thrones would have ended anywhere close to as good as that, it would be the greatest TV show of all time, Game of Thrones. But the way that it ended, it was that horrible that I can't put it above Peaky Blinders as the greatest show of all time. So yeah, not as good as I'd like it to be, but it was still sort of satisfying how it all ended. And I think Michael getting shot was just the best part of it, to be honest.
Really?
I wanted him dead. He's just that cocky. He was just so cocky. He's like, mate, you grew tomatoes growing up as a kid. Just shut your mouth, all right? Tommy grew up in the war, all right? He was killing bad guys for a living. You were just picking tomatoes in a farm in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, I think it was really satisfying when he died.
Okay.
I'm just ranting on about how I loved how Michael died.
Yeah, I feel like they should have killed off one of the family members, like Arthur or Ada or something.
Yeah, but they've killed off so many though. Many have died.
It was like, it made it mean something at the time, but now at the end of the show, it's like, it was better when John was alive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, John was a great character, so it's tough to replace him. And Polly obviously died in real life, so it's very sad. But
same, and I hated her character at the time, but this season I was like, kind of miss her.
You hated Polly? Polly was the best character. Well, wasn't the best, but one of them.
I didn't like her, but
yeah, the person that I hated the most that I hated getting sort of back into this season. Can you guess who it was?
The religious one?
Yeah, Linda. Fucking Linda. She tried to turn Arthur Shelby away into some Christian geezer. Like, stop. He's a gangster. Stop trying to turn him. She's just like the most controlling woman ever. And she tried to kill him as well. And Tommy's like, you know what, we'll do Arthur some good, get Linda back in the fold, huh?
Well, he was a drug addict. He was going to kill himself.
Yeah, but he should have gone out like a gangster. He shouldn't have gone out with friggin' Linda in riding off into the sunset. Linda. Just the most annoying character ever. Like, don't you understand what this is? We're not playing Happy Families here. This is a gangster. This is a gang family who run England. Can you just shut up and just be happy with where you are in life? I don't know if you felt the same way about Linda.
I mean, she was kind of annoying, but
she was worse than Lizzie.
At least Lizzie he's brain dead. So
yeah, but at least Lizzie was like kind of accepting of who Tommy was. She just wanted more love from him, but he wouldn't give that to her because obviously he loved another woman who died. At least she was accepting of the life. Linda, I mean, geez, try to grow chickens in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just ridiculous how I just didn't like Linda, and the fact that she got a role in the last season was just a joke. She should have been killed. I would have been so happy if she was killed. Not it shouldn't have to even be like shot or anything. Just a car or something, run her over, or
Just a car run her over.
yeah, just something. I don't know.
Or if just she dies in the church.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Just the church collapses or something.
Yeah, like how they died in Game of Thrones. There's a collapse under a building.
Yeah, you know what? That would have been a lot better to happen on Linda than Cersei.
Yeah.
But anyway, we won't go into Game of Thrones. I could rant about for 3
we've
hours.
done that before. We've done that before.
We could actually do a full podcast about how terrible Game of Thrones ended. But anyway, moving on. Do you want to do?
Moving on.
Is it Pusher of the Week yet, or?
Yeah, that's where we're up to.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Right. So, on Wednesday, obviously State of Origin, right? State of Origin.
It was
Fantastic. We went with a couple mates, went down to the pub, had a couple. I didn't have beer, I had whiskey because I was nervous. But I had some whiskey, and it's all good. Oscar and one of my other mates putting on a bet before the match. You know, just as you do, classic Australian pastime betting.
Oh yeah,
sports betting. And we got off to a great lead. You know, we scored. I think the first try, didn't we? It was Jack White and
that we did.
Tumbled over, and then Queensland scored a try, but. Instead of the oh no's that I would expect to hear from my friend over here, I hear a loud cheer. A cheer for a Queenslander try. Can you believe that? He cheered Dane Gagai scoring. Not because of it, just because of his multi. The most ridiculous multi ever. They would have to have 4 other things happen as well. But he just happened to celebrate
you have to back
one
every
of
leg.
the 5 things that would happen that he would make money.
Support every leg getting up.
He was and what made it worse was there was people behind us. He had a New South Wales jersey on, and he stood up. I was like, yes, yes, and everyone was cussing him out.
Oh
Kingdom
my
come!
God.
Everyone was just screaming at him, and I couldn't look at him. I just could not look at you when you've supported Dane Gagai scoring a try because of your multi. I just couldn't bear to feast my eyes on the abomination. So you are by far the pusher of everyone's week should be. If
No,
it is a sin, one of the original sins, to celebrate another team scoring a try against your team. How do you do that?
Because a true gambling degenerate will understand.
No, I
You
get
back
it.
every leg.
No, I completely understand it. If one, we're either up by 30, and you're like, oh yes, I can get.
We were up. It was only to make it 6-all.
It was 4. We were up by 4. 2, I understand it. If it's the last leg of your multi, like if it's I've got everything else in my multi, this is the last thing that I need to happen for me to win.
No, but I only needed one Queenslander to score, and it was him, and that he scored. So I was like, fuck yeah.
But
after he scored, I was all
you
New
got
South
one
Wales.
leg. You got one leg the entire game.
Yeah, well, that's just how it happened to be.
You got one leg out of 5.
One of the legs was New South Wales to win, so I was still supporting New South Wales.
No, but
I
you
just needed him to
celebrated
score.
Dane Gagai scoring
Yeah.
when you had 4 other legs to win.
Yeah. Because you need to tick them all off one by one.
Oh my god! It was just, it was.
It gave me a glimmer of hope.
I just kept on rambling on about it as well. I just couldn't bear to look at him. It was. I've just never seen anybody do that. It was.
Oh well, now you have.
In a State of Origin game, like the biggest game in the new NRL calendar, you celebrated.
Look, I'm
Queensland
not apologising.
Winning.
No, I didn't.
Well, winning, I mean, scoring a try and going into a winning situation.
I was depressed at the end of the game.
Yeah, but you deserved it. You brought that upon.
No.
You brought that upon us.
No.
I swear the NRL gods were looking down at you and saying, how dare he support another team scoring over the team he's supporting and wearing a jersey of in the middle of a pub full of New South Wales fans. What the confidence on you was ridiculous. I mean, how
I
you
didn't
managed
even
to
realize
do that.
people would have realised that I was doing that.
And
but
you just looked
happened
behind
naturally.
and everyone's just staring
It
at
just
him.
happened naturally because it was that he put the kick in and Gagai was running through and I was like, go Gags, go Gags. Then he got it and I was like, yeah.
You were like commentating like Ray Warren or something. Oh my god. Yeah, it was just.
Well,
it was
rule
just,
number one of gambling on State of Origin: always bet on Dane Gagai.
yeah, and it's like, why are you surprised that he's got? What you should have done is like, yes, maybe a little yes under your breath, yes, or like not being so upset.
I didn't celebrate that much.
You were standing up and yes, get in,
Yes.
and everybody was just looking at him, going, "Oh my days, how could you?" So yeah, I just cannot comprehend how you did that, and you are my pusher of the week for celebrating another team scoring an Origin try. And stop looking down at your phone to try and
I'm not.
find your happiness and try and distract yourself from this conversation. I think everybody who watches this will fully agree with me that what you did.
If you're a punter, you'll be like, you gotta back
There's
the legs.
No,
You gotta back the legs.
you can be a punter, but when you're a punter at State of Origin,
I'm not even a gambler, so
he's a bit of a degenerate gambler. Let's be honest.
No.
Let's be honest. You are a gambler.
no.
Yeah, you are. You put on at least a bet a week.
Mate, yeah, well, that's not bad.
I said at least though. So what I'm saying is, even though you are a degenerate gambler, it was shameful, and not even the worst bettor not even the most degenerate gambler in the world of sports betting, obviously, would, in a State of Origin game, if he was a New South Wales fan, would he support Queensland scoring, no matter how, unless, and I said that, like I just said, if this was to win you the multi, I completely understand you celebrating it. But it's the first leg in the 10th minute of the game when we're losing.
Yeah, well, this is how it works. When there's money on the line, loyalty's out the window.
No, it's not. It shouldn't
is.
be out the window for $5, mate.
No, but I was going to win a lot more than 5.
But you did it, though, did you?
No, but I could have.
You won one leg out of 5. You weren't going to win it. So, yeah, look, you are my pusher of the week for doing that.
Okay.
I just compare it. Imagine if we were watching the Champions League final and Manchester United were in it, and I just picturing myself celebrating, like, say we're versus
Liverpool goal.
Yeah, Liverpool. We're playing Liverpool in the Champions League final, and me having a bet on Salah to score, and Salah scoring, and me going, yes, get in there. I just couldn't. I don't think I would, mate.
What if you had you won $1 million off it?
I wouldn't celebrate.
You wouldn't?
Well, one, I wouldn't have enough money to have $1 million on Salah to score, where I'd get $1 million, because Salah's obviously going to score, probably going to score anyway, and he's probably one of the more likely players to score. But anyway, I cannot comprehend. Like, that's how I keep on sort of drawing a comparison, because NRL is your main sport, right? It's like one of them. It's one of your big ones, but obviously I care probably a bit more about football than you do about NRL. But still, I just can't imagine in a Champions League final against Liverpool and Salah scoring, or any Liverpool player scoring and celebrating it. Like, how could I do that?
I don't know.
So, yeah, anyway.
For the boys.
For the boys? It's the opposite of for the boys. It's for yourself.
Well, the boys could have got a free round if I won.
Wow. Yes. I could have got a free round? Really? No way. Thank you.
Maybe.
No, I don't think you would. You're the stingiest guy I've ever met. You'd be like, nah.
Nah, I probably would have.
You would be like, hey, lads, you can watch me put $10 on the pokies now.
I won 30 cents on the pokies, and I was forced to reinvest it, and I lost it all.
You won 30 cents. What are you so upset about? How much did you put in?
20.
Oh, my God. Okay. Well, I thought you were flush with cash. Anyway, so I obviously know your pusher of the week. Now, this place, I mean, this is a sinkhole for money. I'm going to tell you Oscar's pusher of the week. I mean, if you want to lose money, go here. I beg you. Now, this is all alleged because we don't want to get sued.
It's not alleged. Fuck them.
I will be the responsible one and say, allegedly, this is all true. But you can go on and sort of illustrate your...
Yeah, so if you live in Sydney, this will be relevant. If you don't, then probably not. But basically, we went out to this place on Saturday. It's called Home Bar. We went in there with some reasonably high expectations of this place.
Yeah, we were. It was hyped up.
We were told it was decent.
I mean, we've been to most places in Sydney, most nightclubs in Sydney.
Probably not, but...
Well, we've been to a few. We've been
to at least 2. So
2? We've been to 7. But whatever.
7.
But yeah, this is one of the few big places that we haven't been to yet. I think
I don't know. I'd never even heard of it before.
I've heard of it. So, but it's one of the bigger places on like Darling Harbour. But anyway, you.
It's called Home Bar, I think. And this place was just not it. It was, first of all, the seckies there were doing too much. They were doing metal detectors and all sorts. I've never seen that before to get into a club. Now, this man over here brought a flask with him because he thought he was slick bringing some alcohol in. So
yep.
And the seckies, well, obviously you cracked under the pressure of keeping it in your pocket.
No, hang on.
When you saw the metal detector, you were like, shh.
No, hang on. I won't interject anymore, but this is important because it's about me directly. So what happened was, if you've ever been to a nightclub, we've never been searched or whatever. You just pay whatever the entrance fee is and you walk in and you show your ID, you walk in, right? This is the one place that just the one occasion that I bring a flask. The first time I ever bring one, they happen to do fucking full-on body searches and a metal detector. Well, it wasn't metal, it was just body search. They just searched your pockets, right? And so originally it was with another one of our mates. But he froze up on the spot. He's like...
He bottled it. If you just kept it in your pocket, you would have been fine.
He would have been fine. But the thing was, he literally was like, oh, God, they're searching people. And so what he did was, he took it out of his pocket and just... plain view, just went like, here you go. Just gave it to me. And then the seckies that were outside, like the cordon line or whatever, were like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, God, I've lost it. And he's like, all right. So we can either throw it out or you can come in. And I was drunk at the time, I'm not going to lie, but it was just anyway, it was a cheap flask anyway. I had a much more nicer one anyway, but it wasn't a cheap one, but it was reasonably expensive. And they already threw it out and said you could come in anyway.
They said, well, but if you want to come in, you can throw it out. Or
no, but what I thought they said was you can either throw the liquid out and come in, or you can take it and go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said something like that.
But that's what I thought that they said. So I was like, all right, you can just throw the liquid out and I can come in. But they ended up chucking the whole thing away. And I'm like, what are you doing? And so it was already in the bin, and I'm like, oh, and they all just ushered me through. And then to make matters worse, we go up on the entrance, and they're like, oh, how much is it? $35. $35 entrance is piece of shit.
Yeah, so...
Are you kidding me?
So before we get in, you've lost a flask, and we've lost $35 each, which is steep for Sydney. Like, Sydney's expensive to get in most places, but $35, that is up there. And so that's before we even get into the place. Once we're inside, it's pretty packed, it looks all right, decent sized dance floor and all that. Big queues for drinks, which isn't it, but, you get that in packed clubs, so I guess you got to deal with it. But then, once you get on the dance floor, you find out that there's, like, some sort of segregation going on.
It's like the 1960s in America.
It's like a year 7 party or something. I don't know. But there was like this dance floor, like this elevated dance floor up the front, which was like free to go on. It wasn't employed people. You could just go up there. And it was just all the girls in the place were up there. And then all the dudes were like on this lower dance floor, just like staring at them like, like fucking zombies. And it was just so weird. It was like, it was basically just a gay bar.
It was.
And it was like, I'm like, if you're going to make me pay $35, can you just advertise that you're basically a gay bar?
Yeah, and it's not the fact that we're like going out searching for women or whatever.
No, it's just like, it's not, I'm not there to feel 45 dicks.
Yeah, I just don't want to be cramped against a bunch of sweaty, horny dudes. Like, I'm good, thanks. Like, and the fact that if any guy tried to get up on there to try and get some breathing room,
the seckies were like pulling them off the stage.
Pulling him down, kicking him out.
It's like, what is it? I don't understand. Is it illegal to go up there?
And it was an absolute nightmare because around the front, it was whenever we got to the front or when we got near like that stage, because the elevator stage, whenever we got near it, it was so weird because it just felt like a bunch of guys were like in this strip.
Yeah, it was just so weird.
It was just the dynamic that they set up was just so wrong and so effed up.
And maybe it was a gay bar and we just didn't know.
No, it wasn't. But it just was so.
We've done that before, so
That's another story time if you'd like to hear. But yeah, it was just probably the worst. It's definitely the worst experience I've ever had in a nightclub by far.
Yeah, it was just you know, you can only look at like a dude on the dance floor and go like, yeah, and like dance looking at them and be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can only do that to so many dudes before it just like, oh, I'm kind of bored.
Yeah, I know. It's not the fact that the women, that we weren't dancing with women or whatever. It's not that part. It's the fact that when you segregate it, it just makes the dynamic of it so weird. When you segregate the genders, it just makes the dynamic of the club so weird, and it just makes it so less friendly. It just seems like it seems even more predatory if you just separate the women and the men.
It's just such a weird thing.
And you can't dance in groups or like, because you know when you come with like a group of friends or you come with a group of mates, you can't dance in like a group anymore. Can't dance in a group. It's like a festival. It's like a weird festival where you're looking at the music, but there's no music. There's just a bunch of women on a stage. So you were just, and it was so packed in of dudes that it was just so uncomfortable. And look, I'm not the tallest dude ever. I'm not the muscliest dude. I'm pretty skinny. But so for me, it was just so like emasculating, just going. And that, look, I don't mind dancing with dudes. I've, you know, you do.
I love it if I'm dancing with mates, but
no, you dance with random dudes anyway. I love doing that anyway. But it's just the fact that how segregated. One, the fact that I got my flask taken off me and thrown in the bin, and I just said, "Could you not put it over there?"
We should have just, if they were like, "You're gonna throw it out," we should have just been like, "Oh, we'll
yeah." But that's the thing. We thought they said throw the liquid out.
No, I heard that if you want to come in, you got to throw it out.
But that's the genuine, like that's what you would typically think. Like, you just
no. I thought they were throwing the whole thing out.
Well, I mean, I thought they said throw the liquid out, and then I'll give it back to you and you can go in. But they threw the whole thing out, which I don't really comprehend. And I said, once they did it, I was like, why couldn't you just put it over on the side? I was like, we just threw it out. And I'm like, oh my God. It was just so bad. And the fact that it's so hyped up, I don't know how guys go back there because it's so bad. It's just so weird and bad. Like, it's just not a good atmosphere at all. The drinks are expensive. The entry's $35. Like, usual entry for a club in Sydney is like 10 to...
Yeah, they have to have a sign up outside saying, home bar, unofficial gay bar. $35 entry.
Gay bars are way better than that. It's just way less creepy than that in the first place. It was just such a creepy and weird environment that I just wouldn't advise you going there if you're going to Sydney. Just please don't go there.
We need to run them out of business, the scumbags. $35.
It's perfect. Like you said, when we walked in there, we thought, it's at least, even though I lost my flask and I paid $35 for entry, it's still a decent place because the atmosphere was cool. Like, it was a good sort of place. It looked nice. It had a cool back screen. It had a DJ sort of propped up. The drinks were right there. It was a good sort of area. But once you started to get later in the night, it just turned into this weird dynamic that I just don't know how they make any money from. Like, how do people go back there and say, yeah, that was a good place, let's go back there?
I don't know. But then when we decided to leave about 12:30 because I was just like, oh, fuck this, I can't be arsed.
Yeah.
So
we usually stay out late. I'm usually up to stay out till whenever, but it was just that bad. And it's open till like 4, I heard, or something like that. But I was just not. I saw the last train and I was like, no, I'm out of here, baby.
Yeah, but so as we were leaving, I was like, oh, let's go fucking find your flask. So we ended up literally searching through this bin for the flask, and then at the end they were like, oh, I think we changed the bin.
Yeah, so they said we didn't change the bins, and we're like, oh, okay, we'll look through it. And it wasn't that bad of garbage because it was just drinks.
You made me look through it, which I didn't want to do, but it was wet and shit. It was disgusting.
Well, it was wet because it was just full of like half drunken drinks. So it wasn't like
pretty bright.
Well, I mean, it's like a big like mix of drinks. So it wasn't. I didn't find it that disgusting. It wasn't like a normal garbage. It was like a club garbage. But I looked through and I'm like, I'm doing my shoulder in here, just searching through this bin, and because they said, oh, we haven't changed the bins. And they're like, and then once we're searching for it for like 5 minutes, they're like, oh, we changed the bins. And I'm like, could you guys not get any more, could you not be any more annoying? Could you guys just not
Yeah. Also,
screw my night up
they
anymore?
have like 10 seckies out there, and there was like no line.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a strange operation they've got going on
It's
over
strange.
there. I don't know who's in charge, but
I mean, Ivy Thursday is pretty packed, and it does get a bit like. And Ivy Thursday is pretty annoying a lot of times. Just getting a drink, you have to wait for like an hour. It's an absolute nightmare.
well, that was partially the bartender's fault and partially the people getting the drinks' fault.
Yeah.
That was just a combination of idiocy.
Yeah, but that was the Ivy Thursday is more because there's so many people there that it gets annoying. This is just because they're just stupid and they don't know. I don't know how they just they don't understand how to create a decent atmosphere and how to not rip off people. I get it's Darling Harbour and you have to, but we went to what was the place at Barangaroo the other week? What was it like? Bungalow, which was like $15 entry or something like that.
I don't know.
But, which is similar place. I mean, Barangaroo and Darling Harbour are basically the same place. So I didn't sort of understand why.
Well, I mean, they could probably charge whatever they wanted. Like,
Well, it's not the fact that, like, if you charge me $35, I'm not going to be...
like you don't even see how much it is. You just go up there, tap your card, and walk in.
Yeah, so it's not that wasn't the be-all and end-all part of it, but it was just the fact that it was the worst club I've been to, and I had to pay the most to get in it, was the worst combination. But yeah, that was your puta of the week. Your da puta. So, yeah, it wasn't a good weekend. It's one of the rare weekends where I just didn't have a fun time. Like, usually on a night out, it's just fun. It's just a dance and drink, and it's fun, and you get drunk. But this weekend, I mean, it was just the most... I just felt like... When you asked me, oh, you want to get a drink at like 11, I'm like, why would I want to drink anymore at this place? I have to wait half an hour in a line.
Yeah, the only drink cheap enough to get was the house beer. And that was maybe the worst beer I've ever had in my life.
You could get...
Horrendous.
But you could get 6 drinks for the price of entry.
7
drinks for the price of entry. Which was just... It's a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think that's a bit weird? And you just saw a bunch of guys just drinking beer. It was just...
Maybe it was Prime that day or something, because there was some like dancing models on the stage.
No,
there was a couple of actually employed girls on the stage.
No, but you see that quite a lot at like the high sort of... I want to say... So you see that at Ivy a lot. They do that. But yeah, it's just weird, man. We should have gone to... what was it? The Argyle had like Tim-O-Matic on or something.
Oh, fuck yeah. I would have rather seen Tim-O-Matic.
just a classic back in the old
Even
days.
if it was filled with 40-year-olds.
Yeah. But yeah, just not a great weekend for us personally. We won't make that mistake again. I can guarantee it. But this was all alleged, what we said. This could all not be true. But I like to say it was just alleged. But anyway, is that the end of the podcast?
Yeah, I think that's it. Unless you got anything else you want to say.
Celtics in 7. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, do whatever you want with it.
Follow us on IG and
Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you find us funny.
Peace.